Hello, everyone. We are going to be starting in just a minute or two. Okay, everyone. We're really excited to have this next conversation as part of our Upfluence Live Summit, which we are, of course, calling Connect, Collab, and Create. And we're very excited to do all three of those things for this conversation. And today, for this particular webinar, we're joined by Logan Welbaum, who is the founder at Plai. Logan, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Excited to be here.
We're really excited to have you because you're gonna help people learn a whole bunch of ways to repurpose and amplify the content that they're already creating, which is really powerful. And as always, I am thrilled to be joined by Adam Shapiro, who's our head of partnerships here at Upfluence. Adam, how are you doing?
Thanks, Paul. I'm doing well. For some other people who've been here for some of our other sessions, hopefully you're not getting tired of me. But it's been a fantastic day so far, and excited to dive into this topic.
Yeah, Adam gets the Iron Man credit. I got one of these sessions off, so we'll keep things going up. And of course, I gotta shut a couple things on my end. And one thing that I do want to mention is we are really interested in connecting with you. So we're going to put a link to a custom Slack channel that we have built around this summit. So if you have any questions or anything like that, please feel free to join our Slack channel on that. And of course, we're going to get to all of the questions and comments that we have in the chats. We are currently live on YouTube. We are live on LinkedIn. We are also live on Facebook. We are live on the Upfluence website. And Logan, are we live anyplace else? Sometimes Logan likes to go live.
We do have 300,000 followers on TikTok, so I can maybe like I'm not talking. Happy to turn that on live too.
Yeah, maybe we'll go live on TikTok. We got to go where the Gen Z people live. We'll talk about that as well. Okay, so let's just jump right in here. So we've been talking so much about the various ways that you can integrate, utilize different platforms to really drive your social commerce. And one thing that we wanted to highlight today, and we're so excited to have Logan here with us, is how you can drive even more ROI by leveraging what you can do within the platforms to amplify great influencer content. So what we're going to talk about is what really creates social commerce 2.0, influencer marketing 2.0, whatever you want to call it, which is basically making all of that happen. And how do you have the product in the right place, the influencers in the right place, and of course, the amplification that you need to be successful. And then we're going to talk about what tools you can use to get there and what those best practices look like. Okay, so first things first. Oh, yeah, I can hide that. Sure. I love getting, I get notes from people about all the various things that show up. It's great. So what we're going to do here is we're going to talk a little bit about who we are here at Upfluence and how we can help with this entire process. And we develop smarter technology to help you decode influencer marketing. And when we talk about that, we really have a strong pivot towards social commerce that we've done over the last 2 years. And we're really a global influencer marketing leader for e-commerce and social commerce. We are all about, and you may have heard about this in some of our previous sessions, but how you can identify content creators who already love your brand, how you can leverage and create those into long-term partnerships and make the smarter decisions to boost your ROI. And one of the ways we do that, we have a whole bunch of fun logos at the bottom of the screen. These are all the different ways that we want to integrate with various tools that help us be successful and help our clients find success in terms of finding influencers and things like that. And one of the tools that we're highlighting today is, of course, Plai, which we work with very closely. We're all over the world. We have offices all over the world. We have users all over the world, and we have data on influencers from all over the world. So that's who we are a little bit. But I do want to highlight our technology partner, Plai. So Logan, can you give us a sense of how Plai works and what you mean when you say your whole digital marketing team in your pocket?
Yeah. So Plai is the ad tool built for businesses and creators to launch targeted ads from their phone or desktop in seconds, no experience required. All anyone has to do is upload their creative and budget, and Plai will create the ad campaign for them. We're live on the App Store, Google Play, web, and our mission is just to really help all of these millions of businesses reach the people that they need to.
Yeah, and Adam, you and I have had many customers who come to us and are like, okay, so what is this process here? How do I get how do I make this happen over there? And I know you've spoken to a lot of our clients about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have to say I was really excited when I was first introduced to Logan and Plai, just seeing what they're bringing to the industry in terms of making what can be an incredibly complicated process just much more intuitive, right? We are very excited to have been able to partner with them to provide influencer related search and content in there for their users. And it's just been one of those partnerships that, has just been hugely beneficial to Upfluence, for our users, and in terms of giving them access to a way to get started on some of these other digital marketing strategies if they don't have already. And so, yeah, I'm just, Logan is a wealth of knowledge. He has taught me a lot in terms of amplifying influencer content. And so this is, we've spoken a lot about data today, right? And so this is going to be a way to, once you have found the influencers and set up a strategy for empowering them to easily let customers check out, as we talked about in the first section, and make that process as seamless as possible. Amplification is an incredible tool to have in your toolkit, and Plai really makes it easy to take advantage of that.
All right, so let's get into the nitty gritty of how we do this and how we do it in the smartest possible way, so that we can really drive that success for you and as brand, or for your clients if you're helping somebody. We were running out of different ways to talk about all the different ways that the pandemic and 2020 changed everything, but once again, eye-popping numbers that show that social commerce is the way forward. And Logan, you shared this with us about Plai's growth over the last year and a half or so.
Right.
That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, one of the ways that we've been able to do it is we have Plai, marketing Plai, and reaching these e-commerce site owners, everyone from people who just have a small Etsy shop owner, they're looking to start their own business. Every brick and mortar business is trying to get online, and we're trying to help them with that. And to help get this number, what we've done is that we're putting out content out there that helps train these businesses on Facebook ads and Google ads. We're bringing them in, and then from there, we're actually using this strategy that we're talking about today for amplifying influencer content. So we're actually using this every single day to grow Plai, as well as having Plai market itself. So it's been a great year.
Okay, so we're gonna give everyone a little bit of the recipe to the secret sauce of what is working really well for a lot of folks today. So we're gonna look at a few different numbers here. Here's another slide about how 2020 changed everything, right? So online consumer spending went up almost 44%. Everyone's now much more focused on what the content does to drive sales, more than just, hey, it's great to see my my stuff out there. And we have marketers who are positioning paid advertising as extremely important on the digital side. We want to talk about how you can really maximize those paid advertising dollars by really linking it in with your social commerce strategy. And the reason that we want you to be thinking in terms of social commerce and digital is when you really find the right influencer content, you really can, using amplification, you can double the audience reach and you get significantly higher click-through rates. And it's because you can validate the content and see what people already like and then move it forward. So talking about data, the ad costs go down and the authenticity is what everyone's looking for. We had somebody earlier today talk about how when everyone couldn't see people, we wanted to go toward social media where we could feel connected, and people really went toward the people that they felt authentic connection to, not the people so much who were trying to present themselves in certain ways or things like that. So that's really exciting there. I do like this. This is a great ad here. Is this one of yours, Logan? Or is this one that we grabbed?
Yeah, I wish. I'm trying to get more into fitness, but yeah, this is consumers out there are just so smart these days. And what this strategy really helps do is that it kind of cuts through a lot of the BS and some of the other ads that people are seeing. So you're going to get lower ad costs with this strategy. You're going to reach more people, and it's just going to be overall a win for your brand.
Yeah, because you can pour a lot of money into ads, but people are tired of being spoken at. That's why social commerce and working with influencers can work so well, because it feels like a conversation with a community. And yeah, it can be broad because you have a lot of followers, but those followers feel an authentic connection. So we're talking about how do you supercharge that authentic connection and get that message out to as many people as possible. Okay, so let's talk about what you need to have set up before you even start. Right. So what we wanted to make this a very much a playbook almost. Like, what should you think of first? Now, Adam, I know you're probably you're ready to talk about integrations and tracking. I know we talk about this with every one of these webinars, but it's extremely important. So can you explain the value of that for the people who are joining us just for this webinar?
Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned, it really, I think, the one takeaway, if you take something away today, is that the data that you have access to, or that you can start working with platforms that help you get access to, can give you the information that you need to make the best strategic decisions for your brand about social commerce. So take a look at the platforms that you're using right now. Maybe it's some that are on this infographic, maybe it's some that aren't, but look inside of them, see what sort of information you have about your customers or your prospects' behavior and how they're interacting with your brand, where the bottlenecks might be, and whenever possible, try to connect these systems, right? The more you can help them share data with each other, the more insights you open up to yourself, again, about what your potential customers or your customers are doing. And that will help you decide, maybe it's which influencers are most effective for your brand, or just simply where is there a bottleneck where people who are going to make a purchase are dropping off. The more that you can connect your systems and share data between them, and Upfluence offers a lot of these integrations, both directly and through Zapier, which is another fantastic partner of ours, which helps connect systems that might not natively talk to each other. Definitely worth checking out for anyone who is looking into this. Always try to connect your information. Get all your data in one place, build a customer profile, build a prospect profile, and that's going to be the basis of understanding which influencers to work with, the effectiveness of their posts, and which ones you're going to want to amplify in the future.
Yeah, and speaking of the effectiveness of their posts, right? So, Logan, this is the playbook right here, right? If you don't know whose posts are doing well, you should wait until you do know before you start pushing money behind people. Like, our intuitions fail us from time to time. We don't know what's going to go viral, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I'm so excited to talk about this strategy today, because the way the algorithms are working on Facebook and Google and TikTok, like if you post about something, like about a product, that's not going to reach as many people. So you have to work with the influencers that you know have that right audience, so it reaches more people. And then also the strategy that we're going to talk about today is how do you reach 100% of their audience? Because right now, if anyone posts, they're going to reach 5 to 10%. So exactly.
And also with some of the other excuse me,
Bless you.
some of with TikTok, for instance, you can actually uh, get in front of a whole bunch of people that aren't even following you, like, because that's how TikTok works. It's kind of crazy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely recommend people to check out TikTok. It's for your brand, for any brand. We're a B2B brand, but we have over 300,000 followers on there, and it's the audience is definitely ticking up as far as age and dollars spent. So
Well,
Yeah.
that's mostly because I started following you. That's why the age went up.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning too. Like again, we discussed this in the first session, but if you weren't there, TikTok is probably one of the forerunners in terms of building an infrastructure that supports brands, social commerce, as well as the influencers themselves, right? And giving them access to more technology to empower a more seamless buying process, give the influencers better insights into what's working with for them and their audience. So again, in social commerce, and again, like you said, it started out as primarily Gen Z, but I think we've been seeing it be more widely adopted, and so it's definitely an important place, and sometimes one of the easier ones to build in some of these social commerce tools into their social channels on there.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, Shopify now has buy now options that they've built in on TikTok as well as Instagram and Facebook. So make sure you have all of your CMS hooked up correctly. All of those things you need to have so that you're ready to let the sales fly. Okay, so first things first, you got to find the right people, right? And we talked about this a little bit, but you have to comb through all of your integrations, all of your email lists, all of your CMSs and things like that. And then you got, if you don't have the customers yet that match what you need to do, you need to find the right people. But finding the right people really means finding people, finding influencers whose personal brand matches what you're trying to accomplish. And that's where having a great influencer database comes in, and being able to find the right people, but also contact them at scale. And that's something that we do a lot of here at Upfluence. We want you to be able to find, contact, and then do the tracking piece as well. But Adam, do you want to talk just a little bit more about the influencer match piece?
Yeah, sure. So on the Upfluence side, one of the things that we've brought to market that a lot of our brands and agencies have been super excited about is our ability to surface influential customers or contacts that are already within any brand's database or networks. So in the case with Klaviyo and Shopify, WooCommerce, for example, we can find all the people who are influencers who might have made a purchase in your store in the last year or something like that, or subscribe to your newsletter, right? Even if you don't have one of those, again, through Zapier, we are able to connect just to Google Sheets. So you pop a list of customers in there and we can analyze them and surface for you who's influential. Now, if you're not using our tool yet, you might have a tough time doing that, but one thing you can at least do is look at your customers, see who's maybe purchased the most, and just shoot them an email, maybe offering them to post more about that product. Now, you won't really know if they have any social followers besides maybe, like me, 100 or 200 people, mostly like family and bots. So you might not know if it's worth it. So without that information, you're not getting as much out of your user database and your customer base as you can. But if you don't have that, it could still be an interesting place to start, is looking at your best customers and trying to find out about them. But honestly,
Yeah.
something like an integration or that Upfluence provides makes it much, much easier.
Yeah, and the data piece, once again, knowing, validating before you even start, so that you have the good idea of who could be good people. But I do love those suggestions. We have different versions of this slide, so I'm gonna just go through it really quickly. Once you find those people who already have purchased from your site, they are 7 times as likely to want to work with you for free, and they will charge you about 50% as much. This is what we found over the last year and a half with these tools. And then in terms of setting up, right, I'm a big believer in setting expectations as much as possible. And so there are a couple of things that, if you want to run the strategy that we're going to talk about, are really smart to get in place ahead of time. the first is getting a good campaign brief understanding of what is expected from the client. But Adam, we also need to, or sorry, from the influencer, what the goals are of the campaign and things like that. But if you want to run a strategy where you're going to be amplifying content, it's really important to get special permissions from the influencers as soon as possible, right? So Adam, can you talk about like some of the best ways to communicate that and just make sure that the influencers are aware?
Sure. So I would say what we've seen is in most negotiations and conversations with influencers, whether you've never done influencer marketing before or you already have it set up, you always have to sign an agreement with the influencer between, it's a business arrangement, right? So within that agreement, we always recommend including a clause about being able to repurpose the content or give you the ability to amplify it for the influencer. Now, you're going to have cases where the influencer is going to say no and maybe redline that and return it to you. But if you have a brand and a product and a campaign strategy that really lines up with the influencer and the influencer's audience, right? Which again are details that you have, if you have a more advanced way of analyzing an influencer's audience, which you wouldn't really get through Instagram. But once you have that, if there's more alignment, they're going to be more willing to, let that be included in the agreement. So definitely include it in the contract. And there'll be some people who might not let you, but a lot of times if you can find that alignment and they want to grow with you, this can be something that, helps secure that capability for you to get the most ROI out of working with that influencer, because you're able to amplify it or use it in a variety of other ways, like as a paid ad or an email outreach that help get you even more bang for your buck.
Okay. All right. So now we've talked about setting it up, right? And we've launched this. Let's assume that we've written, a great campaign brief. We've gotten the influencers excited. We've gotten their permission to do all of the various things that we want them to do. What are our next steps? Now what? So Logan, we like to talk about what was influencer marketing 1.0. And if you're on this call and you want to know like what the stereotype is, it's the shout out, right? It's just like somebody basically saying, I love this brand on Twitter or something like that. It's not all that exciting by comparison to what we can do now. But so can we talk about like how things used to be and where we've moved to and what we're recommending to people?
Yeah. So in influencer marketing 1.0, you find your influencers in Upfluence, you get them to post, and then it's a really exciting first 24 hours. And then right after the post is live, it tends to just trickle off, just like any social media post. It gets buried in the influencer's feed. Sometimes they might even delete the post. And then you might move on to your next influencer. Furthermore, in an Instagram post, which is one of the most popular ways to work with influencers on Instagram, there's not really a link that someone can add to their post. So it's not really trackable. That's why we're really excited to talk about the next version of influencer marketing 2.0, is because basically this is a great post, but then someone would have to go back into the profile and click on the link to get to your website. With influencer marketing 2.0, this is on the right, this is the best example of this. And this example is with Kevin Hart and what he's done with Fabletics. This allows you to increase the post longevity and reach 100% of that influencer's audience. And there is some setup steps that we'll talk about how to do that for Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. But what you're able to do here is that the ad will actually be seen underneath of that influencer's name. So you can see that Kevin Hart for Real sponsored this post, but the ad is actually running through Fabletics ad account. And what you can do with this is that you can actually see all of the different insights about this post. You can save money on creative because you can cut up this footage, you can add text over it, so you get more bang for your buck. And then also, my favorite part of how we've been able to grow so much with this strategy is that you can create different audiences based on Kevin Hart's audience for this example. So you can create different lookalike audiences, retargeting audiences, and more from an influencer's following. It's this strategy you want to save for your top tier influencers, but those are the top reasons to use this strategy. And this also, again, it doesn't fade away. So you can have this influencer post last an entire year.
Wow.
Right, and that's huge. And Adam, you were gonna jump in. Go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh no, I was just well, one, that's exciting. I actually didn't know that it could persist for an entire year, so that's fantastic. And I, I think what it comes down to is this is a strategy, like you said, Logan, that should be reserved and utilized for your top influencers. So I know we keep going back to this data. It's so important these days. You have to be able to understand who are your top influencers, right? You have to be able to say to yourself and look at a campaign and say who converted the most traffic for me, who got me the most impressions, which posts were shared the most, whatever your KPIs and metrics or success are of your campaign, you need a way to measure them, right? And so then once you have that, going into these amplification strategies has been something that's been really effective, as Logan mentioned.
And as we spoke about before, the CMSs, and we spoke with Shopify about this earlier today, are making it really easy to create the purchase from Instagram. And then one of the great things that we have going on right now is we can integrate with those, so you can see those purchases that are happening, and it all becomes you can get those data points, you can see them in various places, and you can really track and see who's growing and who's getting who's helping you sell. So you can even have your first burst of which of this content seems to perform the best with the followers and the comments and the likes, and then move into, all right, now we're going to start amplifying, and then you can start to see who's actually driving sales, and then you can push even more interest into the ones that are driving the most sales, which can be really, that's where it starts to get really interesting.
Yeah, and like, just if you think about this from a consumer perspective, just scrolling through Instagram or TikTok, or you see a YouTube video, an ad on YouTube, just having an influencer, having as a follower of an influencer, as you're scrolling through your feed and you actually see this ad sponsored by this person versus a brand you may never have heard of, that impact is kind of what we talked about as far as the 27% lower ad costs for you. You're going to get more engagement on these ads. It's just a great strategy to use.
All right. So so people think that influencers might not like amplification, may push back against it, but Logan, in your experience, influencers actually do like it once they get to understand what's happening.
Yeah, so this is why I like talking about this topic so much, because I've experienced it from actually doing it and the influencer side. And on the influencer side, I really like this strategy because sometimes I can just give them more video ideas. When a brand works with an influencer, you kind of have to come up with one idea for them to post. With this strategy, they can just send over the content, and you can use multiple variations of that content in your ads. So they don't have to actually post that to their feed, all the different versions, which is great. So they like that. Also, influencers can get more followers from this. So it actually builds the relationship with these influencers. I've seen that myself when I do this strategy as the influencer. My followers and engagement goes through the roof. So this is actually beneficial for influencers too, which is a really unique strategy to help both sides, both parties.
Yeah. I think it's worth mentioning also, like you said, Logan, and very cool to hear your perspective on the influencer side. Sometimes it seems like if a influencer is maybe between a couple different brands who have reached out to them, if amplification is on the table, that gives them even more incentive to choose to work with that brand, right? So it can be a great way to differentiate yourself while receiving all the benefits that we're discussing today.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, as you're trying to build long-term relationships, because that's the real win as you go. Basically letting people know we're going to amplify you, and then as you come out with more things, we're going to keep doing that, and we're going to keep helping you get in front of your followers. That's just a huge win for everybody. All right. So we've been talking about this, reusing images, words, and creating that familiarity. The internet is not different from the real world in this sense, right? People need to have seen your brand more than once, right? We have the old rule of 7. And Logan, as you were talking about, great content doesn't date, so why should it stop working after 24 hours, right? Like it's
Yeah.
that's huge.
Yeah, like on average with any brand, it takes around 7 different interactions before someone buys. And one of the ways that you can have those different touch points is by using this strategy. The first touch point can be, a follower sees it organically from an influencer. The second could be you actually use this whitelisting of the influencer and advertise a cut up version or a different version of that to them. They come to your website and you can just keep getting those 7 touch points for really the same cost, which boosts your ROI.
Right, absolutely. And this trust building, Adam, you were talking about this before, like being part of the network that's seeing this content coming again and again, just that sense of organic connection that people have is huge for making deals happen.
Yeah, absolutely. As it becomes increasingly competitive online, you have to build that trust and create those touch points and make it easy for these potential customers to find more information and great social proof about your brand. And of course, as we've talked about throughout the day, minimize the friction that it takes for them to actually make that purchase, right? And so if you can obviously get in front of them in more different ways, but in a cost-effective way by repurposing content that you already have, that can be the real key to success.
Okay, so and this basically is just visually telling us the same idea, right? Like if you have all this stuff, you can cut it up, you can drive it to do all of these things: drive sales, drive brand awareness, and create that social proof that we're talking about. So as we all right, so we've laid out for you the benefits here, right? You're like in your own little influencer laboratory and your social commerce world. What are the steps once we know how to do it, right? So we've already talked about identifying, but Logan, you want to give the bullet points of the winning strategy right here?
Yeah, I mean, really this awesome thing is I see some few comments I think we're going to answer on the next slide, some few questions. But what we really need to do here is, one, find your influencers and Upfluence, find the top tier influencers. This strategy is called influencer whitelisting. And what's happening here is that you're able to get access, that you both have to have a Facebook Business Manager account, and you're going to get access to their account, and your ad account will actually be the one who's spending the dollars. However, the Facebook page or the Instagram account that is represented is the influencers. And what you're able to do here is create multiple A/B tests. You can add the text below the ad, for example. You can change up the call to action so people can actually buy right from that post versus, just seeing an influencer post about something. It won't reach all their audiences. If someone does want to buy from that organic post, they'll have to go out and click on the influencer's profile to link to your website. And that's not always around. I mean, usually that stays up for around a week or something as well. So some really good practices around here are A/B testing, all these different assets, call to actions, cutting up the clips. And then also what you can do is that you can build audiences off of that influencer's audience. So if you think you're working with someone in the fitness niche and you want to reach more of those people's audience, you can create a lookalike audience based on that influencer's audience and use that same ad, which is one of the best Facebook ad strategies out there.
Okay. And, we're going to talk a little bit and answer some of the questions about how to put it exactly into practice in a sec. We also want to let everyone know that we have an ebook that we've put together for you that we did together, Upfluence and Play, about how you can do some of these things. Or is this? Yeah, we have an ebook that we'll make sure that we share with everyone. And we're going to go through this a little bit right now. I know we have some people who are newer to the whole strategy and all of this. Before we go through this, number one, get up. And and we just shared it with everyone. So the first thing is once we have our group of people and we have permission for them to advertise on their behalf, this is the step. So Logan, you want to go through this just a little bit to give people a sense of how to, and not completely. And then of course we have the ebook for everybody.
Yeah, at a really high level, just for Facebook and Instagram, because I think it is one of the best platforms for this. At a really high level, both of you need to have a Facebook Business Manager account. And I recommend, if you have a larger team, maybe have a quick 15-minute to 10-minute Zoom call, having your digital marketer on your team actually walk through this with the influencer. Your digital marketer will know exactly what to do on this. It's very easy for them. We laid out exactly the screenshots that you need, and you can follow this exactly. But what we're going to do is you're going to help the influencer, if they don't already have it, set up a Facebook Business Manager account. And this is one of the best ways to do it, because if they're in their own account, they can provide you the access and know exactly what they're providing access to, and you can work with it together. Sometimes they don't want you to have access to their audience to create a lookalike audience. Sometimes they don't want you to have access to a Facebook page, only their Instagram account. So that's why it's one of the best ways to do it from a trust perspective. And we laid out all these steps and the best practices to do it. So definitely check out the ebook. We have it for Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. TikTok, it's really easy, and it's one of the best strategies. I use it every single day.
Okay, and we're going to answer some specific questions as we go through this. So just to kind of put a bow on this, when we're talking about this, when you're giving people the product, you find if you have the right product and you have the right influencer, you can then decide that it's time to do the perfect amplification. And we really just recommend testing this at every step along the way. Try different copy, try different messaging, try different stills, and all of those different things to see what you can do to be successful. I wanted to get to the QA because we're seeing a few questions that are coming out from various people. So I saw a couple here. I think I saw one that I wanted to throw out to everybody. So let's see. Okay. So Kevin said, I'm still trying to figure out what content I can copy and how to repost content. Okay. So we've been talking a little bit about how you do whitelisting, how to get into influencers' accounts. I think this is a question around repurposing influencer content a little bit. So Logan, can you give a sense of what influencers might be looking for if you're looking to repurpose, or there is a bit of a distinction between repurposing content and amplification, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, ideally it's in the contract or something before you kind of work this out with an influencer beforehand. Or even maybe afterhand. Sometimes it is an extra cost, but you can just ask them to send you the file of the video that they posted on YouTube or Twitch or TikTok. Ask them to download it and send it over to you. You could always have that piece of content, and sometimes it is an extra cost, but you can use that in email campaigns on your website. You can cut it up, but it's really as simple as just asking the influencer for the raw file, and then you can repurpose it organically on Instagram if you want.
Yeah. And one thing to add there, as Logan mentioned, obviously the first step is always just take a look at the agreement that you've worked out, and if it's in there, if it's covered, you're good to go. If not, and you're bringing it up after the fact, in addition to asking them, you can play up the exposure that the influencer can expect to receive by letting you do this, right? You can tell them about the audience that you're anticipating getting them in front of. Obviously, you have aligned with this influencer because the audience that your product resonates with is who tends to follow them, right? And so for you to be sharing them with your audience of customers and people that you're looking to get in front of, it's going to align and usually contribute a lot more followers to them. So you're bringing value to the table as well, which you should definitely bring up and let them know about the additional exposure that they can expect for what you want to do with them.
Okay. Now I want to, we've talked about A/B testing. I want to get into the weeds a little bit of A/B testing, right? So Logan, because that's the key to all of this. If you don't know, so let's say we have somebody working with like 10 or 20 influencers on a campaign. What percentage of that group would you imagine you would then, you gave them all the same instructions, they all did the same types of content, put it all out there. If you're really running this strategy, what percentage of that group would you then decide to amplify on average, do you think?
I would look for the top 3 who drove the most web traffic to my site, because that just shows intent. And then from there, if you don't have analytics, we recommend that you do have Google Analytics or some sort of conversion tracking installed. Shopify makes this really easy, but you can actually see and tag what influencers actually drove that purchase. You can do this through something like a UTM tag. But honestly, if you're running it with 20 influencers, to do this amplification strategy, you probably want to do it with the top 2 or 3 that drove the most web traffic. And then from there, maybe even the top 1 or 2 that have the largest following as well. Just because when an influencer posts about a new product, it will not reach all of their followers. Just the way Instagram and Facebook, the algorithms work today. So what this does is that you're able to reach 100% of that audience with this strategy. And that's why it's so important, because you're paying to work with this influencer and you want to reach all of their followers and more.
Okay, so thank you. That's great. And then we had another question. So there are 2 different ways that you can send amplification, right? You can do it from the influencer's handle, and you could also do it from the brand's handle. In terms of numbers, which of those 2 strategies tends to work better, or is it a combination of the 2?
Yeah, I think that from the influencer's handle is the best way to do it. Just as a consumer, if you're scrolling through and you see like a familiar face in your feed, even if it says sponsored, that's just a way just to build that extra authenticity and trust. And that's what stands out in this day and age. Like, with every single person trying to get online, there's even more competition, and that having that special creative where you went that extra mile and you're actually running it through that influencer's account, that does play an impact on ad costs. And we shared some stats on how you can actually have that lower ad cost. And when you're really starting to scale up, having that cheaper ad cost, that more engagement builds brand and can boost your ROI as you start to scale.
Okay. And then there are different ad types that people can do, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram. I think we saw another question about this in the chat. What do you recommend is the best ad type for amplifying influencer content?
Right now, TikTok ads would be the best. You're going to have little to no competition. It's a cheaper influencer cost as well right now, and the reach is there already. So you're going to get that organic reach, and then you can boost it even more. And the profile image is much larger as well. Like, that's one of the main reasons you're doing this. Other than that, Instagram story feed ads do really well for this. Facebook ads as well, but I think Instagram story feed ads are at the top. And then YouTube would probably be further down the list, because it's kind of difficult to see in the ad type if YouTube ads are actually being run by the influencer or you. So that would be the lowest on the list, but TikTok ads first, Instagram feed ads second.
Okay, and just to give everyone a sense, when we talk about Instagram, we're really talking about like multiple different post types, right? So you have stories, reels, just regular feed posts. Can you amplify all of those, or are there some limitations that people should be aware of?
Yeah, I think if they highlight it, it may be an option to do a story. But I would say it's mostly going to be from feed posts. Okay. I think they're still working on a setup for reels where you can like advertise in reels. It might be able to just do stories, but it's going to be mostly the feed post.
Okay. Well, and I know we have a lot more questions, but we're coming to the end, so we'll try to make sure to get back to everybody. If you are interested in learning more about how you can utilize Upfluence to help you run this strategy, we're actually going to put a link in the chat so that you can book some time with one of our consultants. And Logan, what's the best way for people to get started with Play?
Yes, definitely check us out. I post some videos about this too, of like as far as step-by-step guides. Check out the ebook first. Check us out at play.io on TikTok, Instagram, and would love for you to check out Play on the App Store, Google Play, and web. If you're looking for help with your Facebook ads, Google ads, and actually implementing this strategy to its fullest with all the nitty-gritty stuff as far as audience targeting and things, Play will help you with that. And I'd love for you to reach me. Feel free to DM me on Instagram or TikTok or send me an email.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I've learned a lot from watching Logan's videos, and it gives me an excuse to go on TikTok. So that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Logan, thank you again so much for your time today. Thank you for joining us. And Adam, thank you as well. We're going to be back at 3 p.m. today with our last webinar of the day. Our partners are going to be Tej Hanley for that. So come back at 3 o'clock, and we're looking forward to talking to you then. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks.